Okay, friends, it's Brad Reynolds with Synergy, back again, hashtag Think Nashville, Think Brad. And today's video is all about the NAR lawsuit, which I bet you've already seen a bunch of videos on, but you're gonna wanna check out this one, because I've got a perspective unlike anybody else. It's just mine. This video focuses on the lawsuit, the settlement, and how it impacts buyers. We're gonna have multiple follow-up videos, so stay tuned, subscribe, hit that notifications bell, and watch out. We're starting right now. So first, what is NAR? NAR is the National Association of Realtors. It's got about 1.5 million active members, and they have the trademark to the term realtor. They're based in Chicago in a big, shiny building there. So if you're ever in the area, feel free to walk by it. So here's the basics of the lawsuit. Something called cooperative compensation has always been the key word in real estate. When you as a seller go to sell, you were typically signing for 6%, half going to the buyer's agent, half going to the seller's agent, but you had to have some kind of compensation entered into the MLS. That was NAR's standpoint and thing they stood on for years prior to this lawsuit. So this class action lawsuit, Sitzer versus NAR, has been going on for a couple years. It was started by about 300 homeowners out of the Midwest who said that these brokerages and NAR colluded to keep real estate commissions high. In recent months, some of the big brokerages have settled for around $140 million, and recently NAR has settled for around $410 million payable over 4 years. This ruling goes into effect later this year at the end of July, but something tells me it gets pushed back. So what are my thoughts on this judgment and how it impacts buyers? Well, here you go from the guy that's been in the business 15 years. First and foremost, I think NAR threw agents under the bus. The position that they've held for the last 4 years was very different than the one that they hold now, post-lawsuit. That position was if you wanted to advertise in the MLS, there had to have been some kind of cooperative compensation. Most likely 3%, but could be as little as $1. Today, after the lawsuit, that has now changed. The reality is, I think they could have settled a couple years ago and saved themselves and the organization and all its agents by extension a lot of money. NAR does not have $412 million. This is an organization that every year takes in about $350 million and spends $330 million. They don't have the money. So here's what they're gonna do. They're gonna look to all of their local associations, people like me that belong to GNR and other associations across the country, and they're going to probably double that fee to pay it off in these 4 years. So what's going to happen? I think a lot of local brokerages and local associations are going to wind up leaving NAR. I think NAR is somewhat like the NCAA. Legal rulings are weakening it, and with all the money going out there, it's gonna become like the Wild West. And eventually we're gonna have a secondary national MLS where you can get on there as an agent and see what the seller is paying. There's already some very established agents around the country who are working to make this happen. And whether that's next week, next year, 10 years from now, it's going to happen. So NAR should pay attention because unless they wanna go down the drain like the NCAA is, big changes are coming and you've gotta get in front of them. That being said, my goal as always is to save you money and get you the best terms possible. When you call me from now on, I'm gonna get that representation agreement signed basically immediately, and it's going to say 3% in it. But I'm gonna do my best to turn that 3% into zero and bring you the most value during the transaction that I can. By doing that, it's not just the best price, it's when's the best date to close to line up your first payment. How do we get seller paid closing costs? How do we develop and negotiate an interest rate buy down? Who is the best lender? Who is the best title company? I'm gonna assemble the best team in front of you to give you the best experience possible. The reality is, I think the system will keep on going informally the way it is. Sellers will just not be able to advertise in the MLS that they're paying the commission. Let me say that again. I truly believe that the way the system has been will officially, unofficially continue to be that way going forward with the seller paying the buyer's agent commission. So how does this impact buyers? Well, like a lot of legislation that comes out of DC, it was all done under the guise of making home ownership easier and more affordable for buyers. And the reality is it's going to be like a lot of legislation that it winds up being the opposite thing. I think this is going to be disastrous for many buyers. If you're a first-time home buyer, if you're a veteran using a VA loan, or if you're a lower income buyer using an FHA loan, you can probably qualify for the loan, but can you pay for representation? Maybe, maybe not. So when you meet your agent, you need to be locked in from the get-go and make sure that they're not a newbie. Don't choose the person who just got licensed. Choose the person like me that's been in it forever. and have that person bring as much value to you as possible during the transaction. So I think it shakes out like this. Here's the nuts and bolts. You as a buyer are going to call me and you're going to say, Brad, I have 10 places I want you to show me. And I'm going to say, well, I've got to check on each one of these and ask the listing agent, are they paying a cooperative compensation? Then I come back to you and I say, 5 are paying the compensation, 5 are not. How do you want to handle this? Because I'm going to get the 3 either way. So do you want to pay me the 3 or do you want to buy one where they're paying me the 3? In other situations, it could be a mixture. Maybe they're paying 2 and I say, hey, look, I've saved you 6 or 7%. I've earned that 1% with you. So you're going to see an across the board, different variations, but a similar outcome of the 3%. Now, the reality is, as a buyer, you could just go directly to the listing agent, but I don't recommend that. Remember, the listing agent has a fiduciary and legal responsibility to protect the seller, not you. They're going to do everything in their power to represent the seller over you because that's where their loyalty lies. As we wrap up this video, keep in mind this is the first of many videos we're going to make on this subject. This is a big topic, it's not going away. But remember this, buyer agency is important. If you are a buyer, you need an agent. Now what you pay that agent is between you all. I think, like I said earlier, there's going to be some situations where seller pays it all, some where you pay it all. But you've got to work with a great agent to get the best terms possible. I've been doing this a long time, and the few times as a listing agent, someone has come to me unrepresented. It's been disastrous for them, but great for my client. So until then, for all of us at the Think Brad channel, thank you for tuning in. We've got some great videos coming soon. We hope to see you soon. Cheers.